always keep going. Always. You know, there's been times, particularly early in my career, where it just feels like this is the end. But what I've come to find out is that, you know, no matter what happens, the storm eventually ends. And when the storm does end, you want to make sure that you're ready. And so I've really learned to put one foot in front of the other, good, bad, or indifferent, because eventually that storm passes.
You're not going to score on every shot.
Right.
Doesn't mean you shouldn't take the shots, doesn't mean you shouldn't try to hit the goal. But part of being able to continue to take shots is to have the strength of character to tolerate the fact that in that instance you weren't on top.
At least for me, if I'm playing a game, I want to play for the long haul, and the point of the game is to keep the game going, and if you want to keep the game going, then you can't be dependent on someone else.
You're going to lose sleep. You'll doubt whether it'll work. You'll stress to make ends meet. You won't finish your to-do list. You'll wonder whether you made the right call and have no way to know for years. This is what hard feels like, and that's okay.
There are days where I see overbearing difficulty. There are days where I see more no than I see yes. There are days where I see harder things than I see opportunities, but it doesn't last that long. You know, it's not about eliminating that stuff out of your life. It's working through it and keeping going.
The skills that you develop along the way, like Steve Jobs learning calligraphy that then became Apple fonts that, you know, transformed how we type. Those early days, that little trench winning in the weeds, oftentimes gives you these huge advantages later on because you have more context than anyone else. And so rather than lament them and hate the fact that you're going through it, remembering that these will be arrows that you put in the quiver that you're going to be using to slay the future bigger dragons. And so expecting it to be easy is what makes it much harder than it ever is.
Time's going to pass whatever you do, and you can give yourself gifts in the future. You can be rich, and you can have a six-pack, and you can be successful, and you can be in a happy long-term relationship with a beautiful family. You can give yourself those gifts, but there's some tough times in the present to give yourself that gift in the future.
Everything worth doing is hard, and the more worth doing it is, the harder it is. The greater the payoff, the greater the hardship. If it's hard, good. It means no one else will do it. More for you.
It is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach, and your body is already completely exhausted from workouts and two-a-days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle, and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard. No matter who you are, there are bumps and hits and bruises along the way.
Different frames around content making, since we're on the topic, that helped me was, one is seeing it as practice rather than the game. So like when we're doing a podcast, if you start, you're like, hey, I'm gonna do a podcast, I'm gonna post it. It's practice for me getting better for future me. Rather than like, this is the main game. It's like, no, the game is the whole thing. And this is just like, we're still in preseason.
Yep.
Like these scores, these touchdowns don't even matter yet. Right? Now you can say yet, even though like I can still feel like I'm in preseason, but I think from a mental framework, it actually decreases the stakes associated with doing it. And I think that's been helpful for me, especially it was in the earlier days.
Even a game is not a game, because a game is, most of the time, a game is the beginning of a series of games. So let's say that you're on a soccer team. Well, there's winning the game, but the game isn't the issue. The game is the whole series of games. So maybe the game is winning the championship. And winning the championship and winning a game are not the same thing.
It's never there.
Yeah.
You know, you never get to a point where it's easy. You get to a point where it's easier, but guess what happens? Your goals become harder. So the game becomes more complex. The bigger you get, the bigger the bullseye on your back. So you got to keep going.
I'm always focused on the long game. I think these days, a lot of people want insta results, They want to be Instagram famous. They want to have like $1 billion business overnight. And if you're just starting out, you've never run a business, you've never created content, you've never sold, marketed, built a team, done any of these things before, to expect instant results, it's immature. It's unrealistic. You're never gonna get there. And some of the people I admire most in the world, no matter what their craft is, dude, they're in it for the fucking long game. They're not sitting around going like, why can't I get higher conversions by tomorrow? It's like, that's not how this works.
It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain and they have this abstract concept called impact that they want to have in the world, which is the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. I don't care if you go up the mountain quickly or slowly, but there's still a mountain. And so what this young generation needs to learn is patience. That some things that really, really matter, like love, or job fulfillment, joy, love of life, self-confidence, a skill set, any of these things, all of these things take time. But the overall journey is arduous and long and difficult. Overcome the need to have instant gratification and teach them the joys and impact and the fulfillment you get from working hard on something for a long time that cannot be done in a month or even in a year.
What should you do today that you tomorrow would be happy you did? So sort of 24 hours in the future, how best to live? Because people sort of set like, oh, well, I'm going to do something for 5 years, so it's this huge goal. But you won't rise to your goals. You'll fall to your systems, right? So that thing of like, what could you do tomorrow? What could you do today, rather, that you'd be happy you did tomorrow? Whether it's the food you eat, the exercise you take, the work you do.
People struggle to do things alone. And the path of the exceptional person is one of an exception, which means that you are not with other people. And rather than fighting that or bemoaning it, see it as an indicator that you're on the right path. Because if everyone else were cheering you on, then it means you're not in the right place, because it means you're just like everyone else, and that's not where you want to be.
Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. I'm telling you, embrace it, because it's inevitable.
I call it the Rocky cutscene, and almost every successful person that I have ever encountered has gone through not a month or a year, but many years of doing work without reward, where they have to do things that other people find boring, and they have to sacrifice things that everyone finds interesting, that most people want to do during that entire season of their life. And they basically sacrifice a season of other things that they would prefer to do stuff that they would not prefer to do because of the one thing they want most. And that's the Rocky cutscene. And instead of lasting 5 minutes, it just usually lasts 5 or 10 years.
If you're hard on yourself, life becomes easy. There are days where I run and it's no big deal, but there are days where running that distance will be the greatest thing I've done that day. But it's a friggin' win. And there are days, man, where I need a win.
Yeah.
Because the rest of my day is all about losses. So build on those wins, little things every day.
Perfection doesn't exist. It don't exist, Joe. We're in a time right now where people expect perfection. You expect perfection. I don't know where this came from. I don't know what happened that this is the criteria for living. My true understanding is, all right, you got one life. And that one life, the goal for us is to live it to the best of our ability from the beginning to what's said the end. In the middle, in the beginning, middle, you're gonna do things, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna fuck up. You're supposed to learn and then move forward with the understanding of what not to do. And when you move forward, Life may get better, it may not, but somewhere along the lines it's gonna click. And everything that I went through back here was supposed to happen so that now that I'm here, I'm able to go ahead with such a high level of knowledge, and I can make other people better. I can make myself better. I can do more for my family. Something happens.
Because in the early days, hard was, ooh, stop. This isn't good. I should, this is a warning sign. This is a red flag. I should slow down, or I should stop, I should pivot. But the more I think about it as a competitive landscape, as I'm clear on what this path is supposed to look like, and these rocks and these dragons are things that I'm going to have to slay along the way to get the princess or get the treasure, I get happier about the harder it is because I know that no one else will follow.
It's a selection effect.
And I think if you can shift from this is hard to no one else will be able to do this, then it flips from being this thing that you're like, oh, poor me, to oh, poor everyone else who's going to have to fucking try.
Yeah.
And I think that is so much more motivating as a frame for the exact same circumstance.
Doubt is such a strange thing. There'll be times where you succeed and there are times that you fail. So wasting your time doubting whether you're going to be successful or not is pointless. It is. You just put one foot in front of the other. You control what you can't control. And then you see what the outcome is, right? If you win, great. You're going to have to wake up the next day and do the journey over again. If you lose, it sucks, but you're going to have to wake up the next day and do the journey all over again anyway, right? So it's really pointless to sit here and debate or have doubt or this, that, and the other. You train as hard as you can, and you step out there and you let it flow.
As you start to fail, you fail more and more rapidly. But it also means that as you start to succeed, you succeed more and more rapidly. And so you take an incremental step and, well, now you can lift 55 pounds instead of 52.5 pounds. You think, well, what the hell is that? It's like, it's one step on a very long journey. And so it starts to compound on you. So a small step today puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And then that puts you in a position to take a slightly bigger step the next day. And you do that for 2 or 3 years, man, you're starting to stride.
I think we get better over time. I think you have to really be patient. I think people have to understand, especially when it comes to any so-called like glamorous type career, or people, maybe things that people perceive are glamorous, whether it's something like what you and I do, an athlete, an entertainer. Do you know what 90% of the work is? Fucking grunt work. That's what it is. It's unglamorous. Sometimes people are like, I want to see what you do more. I'm like, you want to see what I do more? I'm sitting with a fucking messy bun in my sweatpants, sometimes not showering for 3 goddamn days because I'm hammering shit out. That's what I do. I love it. But if you're not willing to put in that kind of work, you're not going to get the outcomes on the other side.
I think a hopeful message that anyone can think about who's in that hard period or in that start period is that it won't get harder. Like, this is the hardest part. And so if you can just make it through this, everything else is downhill. It's not that the things that the dragons are going to slay aren't going to get bigger. They are. But you become so much more equipped to slay them back. And you have so many more allies. You have people in the stands cheering for you. You have the audience. You have all of these other things that are behind you. But at the beginning, it's just you with a stick against a bear. And arguably, that fight is a harder fight to win than beating a dragon when you have a nuclear bomb and 6 nations behind you. And so it's not even like the size of the hardship, it's just also the resources and how few of them you have, and how so much of the beginning is literally burning the one thing you have, which is time. Because you have no leverage. You don't have the money to pay other people to help you. You don't have the resources to go like get someone no one can learn it for you. It's like there's a lot of the things that we care about a lot, like no one can work out for you. Doesn't matter how much money you have, no one can learn skills for you. And so in the early days, like it feels so painful because you're like, you look around to see who can help you and then you're like, fuck, it's me again.
Having stuff isn't fun. Getting stuff is fun, right? It's not the pursuit of happiness. It's the happiness of the pursuit, right? It's that thing, and it's not like, the self-help, it's not the journey, it's the destination. It's not either the journey or the destination. It's who you become on the journey.
We're all writing a book. What's your book look like? What does your fucking book look like? Like your life is a book. You got a bunch of chapters in your book, but when they close that book, how good was the book? How good was your book? What was the ending to your book.